everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Halftime with Bizzy. I appreciate you guys all tapping on today's podcast. Today's episode is with ESCalation, who was brought to my attention by none other than ZooL Smith, who we had on the podcast recently. So make a shout out to ZooL for kind of getting the wheels going with this podcast. I appreciate it. ESCalation is very unique to me. I think that his content is very cool and the topics that he covers is very well done, and I don't think there's a whole lot of people that really do it like he does, if that's fair to say. No disrespect to anybody, but ESCalation focuses a lot on the history of Counter-Strike and the cut content that we never ended up seeing in Counter-Strike, specifically Global Offensive. Not only does he work on his YouTube side of things, but he also is a creator on Classic Offensive, ZooL's Counter-Strike mod, and he's the main man behind Nuke on Classic Offensive, which is coming out very soon. It was super easy to talk to ESCalation. Before we even jumped in a call to do the podcast, I just wanted to call him and do an introduction, and we ended up staying in a call for, I think it was damn near an hour, and, you know, he's just one of those guys that's just super fun to talk to, and it feels like you've known him for a long time. Very real dude, very legit, and I think you guys are all going to love today's episode. The chemistry between us, I'm a huge fan of it, and I can't say enough good things about him. We're going to get right into it, guys. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you guys on the outro. My man.
Yo, good evening.
What's going on, dude?
Working on a Counter-Strike video.
Oh,
Yes.
love it.
Working on two videos at the same time, and
Oh, Jesus.
one's a Halloween video about the old Counter-Strike mod Zombie Panic Source. You might have heard of it.
Okay.
And the other one is about CS:GO, or rather CS2, and why it's as meh as it is.
I love that. So, dude, an absolute pleasure having you on the show today, man. And mega shout out to ZooL for getting the wheels going for this episode and, you know, kind of introducing us in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
As per usual,
Sure.
I like to start off with the history of Counter-Strike with my guests. So, would you care to elaborate on how you got introduced to the franchise?
Oh, so my introduction to Counter-Strike. That was the story from the olden times. I'm kind of introduced to this whole thing via Half-Life.
Okay.
So back when we got our first family computer, it was built by the neighbor kid. He was kind of a computer whiz, and he set it up, and he turned to me and was like, I put some cool games for you on it, and I had Half-Life Opposing Force, and Counter-Strike 1.5. And I absolutely love 1.5. We didn't have internet back in the day, so
Ooh.
I only played it against bots, but I was enamored with it. And so my parents often went out to other people who had older kids, and they were playing Counter-Strike as well. So I was allowed to come on over for one of their LAN parties, and I was allowed to hang out with the big kids, and uh, I came, and then they already had Counter-Strike 1.6, so I got that too. And I was super excited because, wow, you got two new guns. You got the IDF Defender and the Galil. Wow, amazing. And ever since then, I was absolutely totally into Counter-Strike, the old stuff. And I still remember that first night that we played there, because I was a stupid kid. I really enjoyed the M249.
Oh, boy.
And we were playing on NetStack. I came from CT spawn. Um, onto the site and just ran in guns blazing, and I couldn't aim for shit, but damn, I landed a headshot right across the entire map. and from that was just like my oldest Counter-Strike memory.
All right. Hey, well, if it stands out, I guess. So what was it that grabbed you the most when you started playing Counter-Strike? Is there a certain feature that kept you a fan for all of these years, or has that been something that's just changed? Like, because there's been so many different changes to Counter-Strike since 1.5 especially.
I think it's the whole culture around it that's at least like locally for me. Because going to LAN parties, like I've never been to these big LAN parties, but it's always been like a community thing for me and my friends. meeting up people, playing Counter Strike. And yes, Counter Strike can be a bit competitive,
Hmm.
but if you played with close friends and the one or odd stranger, uh, you still have this fun feeling about it, and that's what drew me into playing the old Counter Strike games. And then over the years, like CSS came out, and you realize, oh god damn it, all my classmates and the guys in the other classes are playing Counter Strike Source. Uh, Steam comes out, you're connecting, it's I don't know, Friday evening, everyone's online, you're on the TeamSpeak server, and you're just having fun. That's what grabbed me with Counter Strike. It's the whole community thing, playing a lot of custom maps, being scouts knives and all this kind of crazy shit. I never got good at Counter Strike, but I've always had a lot of fun with Counter Strike.
That's what I think the coolest balance is about Counter Strike is you can take it very seriously and have a really good competitive time with it, or like you said, you just join up with a bunch of dudes, a bunch of your buddies, and just have fun. Like, who cares if we win or lose? Let's just have fun, you know?
Exactly. There's this super competitive part of Counter Strike, and I admire it because I am never that good. I have a friend of mine who used to play a lot of CS:GO. He was global elite, and I remember queuing with him for God damn it, like stuck in my head. Um, Wingman,
Oh, Wingman, yes.
queuing for Wingman, and he carried me because he was just so good at it, and we marched from victory to victory, like 12 victories in a row.
Oh, Jesus.
Um, and, and that's one of the moments I realized, damn, I suck at Counter Strike, but it was fun.
And
um,
Wingman is one of those game modes too where it's like you're either having a really good time or a really bad time. Like there's no in between, I feel. I've never had that
yeah.
experience anyway.
Um, and then the next part that I absolutely loved about Counter Strike is map making, and that's what had kind of got me going because I tried to map a bit for Half Life, but then I realized, hey, I'm really not good at building like cool riddles to solve while playing Half Life. You got those little parkour mechanics and solving little tasks where you have to jump around or
Yeah.
switch from a special location. I'm not good at that, but I like the architecture part of it. I like designing worlds, designing cool looking areas. And so I started doing this for CSS, like building little aim maps for my friends.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I always really loved watching people play my maps. I remember, like, you remember Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 or
Oh,
2 on the PlayStation?
absolutely.
My,
That's my
my favorite
childhood.
part of yeah, my absolute favorite part of that game was the park editor, and then just
Oh,
watching my
yeah,
cousins
yeah.
play it and gauging like how do you guys enjoy this? What could be better? I don't know. That was my favorite part of the game, and with Counter Strike, it kind of became the same. And then I had this part of my life where I didn't really play any computer games because I got super into Warhammer and tabletop games,
Okay.
and and then I guess around 2014, I really got back into it. I watched a video which was called "The Evolution of Counter Strike," and it was just some people, some guy just putting in clips of Counter Strike games one after another, and damn, that was bad. And I thought, yeah, I have to do this. I can do this better. And that's how I got into making Counter Strike videos.
That's awesome. What an initiative too. Like, the scene is that right there proves the scene is a very competitive scene in many, many regards. So that's really cool, man. And that video did really well for you. I think
It's
that's the
like
most popular one on your channel.
it is, and it's also one of the oldest one. And it's from my modern perspective, it's bad.
Oh,
It's
come
not a
on.
good video,
Come
dude.
on.
There's a spelling mistake right in the beginning of the video.
Hey, that's so minor though. It's a to me, it's a timeless classic because it goes through the entire, the history. Why we're
And
all here
that's
today.
true. And you know what? I think I've always been thinking about the idea of remaking it because that. Meanwhile, I found out so much more about Counter Strike, especially the cut content part. And maybe you've seen my entire playlist cut content of Counter Strike.
Yes.
Someone under the video once called me the Counter-Strike historian, and that's a
Hey,
title.
nice.
It's a title that I like, but
That's got a good ring
so
to
far,
it.
kind of. Uh, because I tend to obsess over tiny niche things of Counter-Strike, like stuff that is super inconsequential to the game and stuff that never came out, and you have like one or two lines of code and texture in a container here and there, and it's like, oh, there's a hint. They wanted to add a grenade launcher at one point.
Yeah, and just think of what that would do to the game. Oh my god, it just stresses me thinking about it. Valve, if you're listening, do not ever add a grenade launcher to the game, please. So, you've been creating videos on YouTube for 9 years. What's led you down the path of creating your YouTube channel, and was there anybody that inspired you to start this whole journey, or was this just something that you just wanted to start up one day?
Oh, this isn't my first YouTube channel actually.
Oh.
I done some stuff before. It was mostly about modeling stuff, about the whole playing Warhammer and building tables for Warhammer.
Oh, wow.
That was just a silly side project, nothing professional. And then I had a horrible video camera. It's like the whole channel is 480p. Um, and then with Counter Strike, like I said, I just saw that history of Counter Strike video, and I thought I can do that better because that's lacking a lot of information. And then I just kept going because I discovered it's really fun. And yeah, inspirations. Uh, I suppose most people don't know him. As I guess mostly you have an English language audience, but he later became a friend of mine. Alter Vier Games, a German YouTuber who did silly reviews of really horrible video games back in the day, and his style kind of inspired me because he's someone that I watched back in school, and I guess he was influential in creating my earlier videos. Then of course you got more Counter Strike focused YouTubers. You got War Owl. You get 3 Clicks Phillips, and I think the way they approached their video creation was a bit of an inspiration.
Okay. Yeah, those are big
Um,
figures too. They've been around for quite some time, and they're still
oh
very
yeah,
relevant.
I mean, 3 Clicks Phillips, his old mapping tutorial videos, like I still find myself going back to what his tutorials when I'm looking up something very specific, and I don't know, like he's a video just explaining every water texture in Source, and yeah, it's just sometimes a very useful resource because these videos are small and just straight to the point. It's not a lot of meandering until you get to the point, and that's something that I sometimes do. I talk too much.
But I can definitely see why you would take inspiration from a guy like Three Clicks Philip, because your content is very in depth as well, like in the sense of, cut content and things that people might not know about Counter Strike and the history of it and stuff. So that's a very obvious inspiration, and I definitely see that. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's a compliment. Like looking at the people you've had here on the podcast, it's quite cool to stand next to them here.
Hey, dude, and it's just a pleasure to have you, man. I'm so happy to have anybody and everybody on the show. Doesn't matter how big or small they are, it's about telling the story of the people that drive this game and continue to make it what it is, even when it's evolving to Counter-Strike 2 from Counter-Strike Global Offensive and from Source to Global Offensive. There's a lot of standout people, and I'm very happy to have you and everybody else and everybody that I'm talking to now come on and share the story. It's very inspiring to me.
I can imagine. Like, I listened to very closely to your podcast with Min Lee and
Yes.
how he perceives Counter Strike nowadays, and I was kind of a bit saddened to hear that he doesn't enjoy Counter Strike anymore that much ever
I
since it got so
know.
super competitive. And that is something that I've noticed with many old creators. So a while ago, I talked to the guy who created Office, and we talked briefly about Office, how it is the best of the worst maps. And the creator of Office, like he didn't even check out CS:GO. Like he didn't
Wow.
know how his map looked like.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah, and it's like I asked him, "Are you interested in it?" And he was like, "Nah, nah. I kind of kind of closed on Counter Strike.
But
And
like, I kind of get it from their standpoint too, because at the end of the day, for them, this was like, a job, right? Like Min Lee, for instance, he created the game with Jess Cliff, and it exploded and eventually became what it is today, which is absolutely massive. The esports scene, everything, every aspect of the game, it's massive. And it did sadden me too when he was talking. He's never even opened a case. I'm like, what? Like that's crazy. But at the end of the day, like it's a job for him, and he's past it and he's doing other things now. And I understand that. But, as a guy like you and I who are very passionate about this game, it just sounds so crazy that, like a map creator is one thing, but the guy who co created this game is, just not even, he's just got other things on his plate. And like I said, I get it, but it's just so insane to me.
and yeah, the way you put it, it's a job for them, and that is absolutely correct. For us, it's a hobby. We can obsess about it, but for them, it's earning money.
Yep.
So they of course have a different approach to it. Um, but what made me pretty happy, I gave him a key to Classic Offensive some time ago, and he was like, "Man, you really captured the old feeling. It's amazing." And that kind of felt like getting knighted. It's like by the queen, you get pronounced to be a knight. Like if the man himself tells you he did a good job. I especially showed him my remake of Nuke, where I tried to get back into that old Half-Life-y style. The
Yes.
original. The original Nuke just looked like it's plucked right out of Half-Life, with every texture and asset being kind of oriented around the chapter surface tension of the original Half-Life. And the folks who did the Black Mesa remake, Black Mesa Source, they were cool enough to just let me use their assets. So the rock
Oh, wow.
surfaces, some of the textures, uh, their whole deal was like, "Oh yeah, you're not making money. Yeah, yeah, sure, go ahead, use it." That
Wow.
was absolutely kind of them, and
Very.
big thank you to these guys. You made you enabled me to make the map look great, because I don't have the time to remodel everything and build a whole Black Mesa tram just to put it in the background. But with their assets, absolutely amazing stuff. And to get back to Min Lee, his old style of Counter Strike, because Counter Strike is kind of, there's this diverging path. When you look at the very old Counter Strike stuff, it tended to be a bit more realistic. Um, the whole scenarios, defusing bombs that are not even planted yet. You run in. That's kind of unrealistic in a police versus robbers scenario.
Yeah.
But it's going in and rescuing hostages. That's, I guess, the more realistic scenario, and that doesn't really go well with competitive gaming. eh, But it was the original base of Counter Strike, and when you look at the old maps, they were very unbalanced, but had more believable layouts. I remember. Do you remember the map Mansion? We just had like one villa in the middle, and you had to enter the villa and get three guys out.
Yeah, I think I feel like me and Min talked about it a little bit, but I've definitely seen screenshots and footage of it. Yeah, I don't think I've ever played it though.
These maps, these old ones, they had gameplay elements that you just wouldn't find in CS:GO. You could circle around back as the CTs and just shut off power to the building, so you were fighting in darkness. Of course, you could buy night vision goggles back in the day, or you had flashlights, something that modern Counter Strike maps just don't need, because if the map's too dark, it's really bad for competitive. Visibility is key nowadays.
Yes.
Back in the day, no, night fighting was the thing that could go on. Um, then there was a table that you can just push in front of the entrance door to block it off, like
Wow.
blocking off paths with props. Like people would scream
Oh.
nowadays.
I wanted to talk about a lot of your hit content, and the main focus with a lot of your hit content is showcasing things such as like the beta versions of Counter Strike Global Offensive and the differences from when it officially released. The history of Counter Strike, cut content, so much more. Where did you get the idea to touch base on these kinds of topics?
Um, I always found development stuff interesting. When I watch an artist, I'm often more interested in the sketch and the process than in the final product. And I guess the same counts for video game development, and also the urge to get the thing that we didn't get. So you see development photos and you see some crazy cool concepts that didn't work out, and then there's me thinking, why couldn't I get this? I want this. I want as much information about it that I can get. And especially with Counter-Strike, there's a whole lot that we didn't get. There are even maps that were unreleased and kind of lost or repurposed. So at some point, I was just like, damn, I gotta investigate. And then I found out, hey, there are so many assets left. How about I go ahead and remake some of that stuff? And that's how I got into remaking Counter-Strike maps. I suppose you've seen some of the videos about that.
Yes, yes. I got into Counter-Strike really late, right? So I started playing in late 2015 and I got really, really into it come 2016. But before
Hmm.
then, I'd never even heard of Counter-Strike. Like, I got onto PC gaming and my buddy's like, oh, you got to get Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And I'm like, it looks cool, but I don't think it would, get my attention for as long as it has. I mean, I've gotten almost 5,600 hours in just shy of 10 years now. And I loved learning the history about something that I love, whether it's an artist, like I love hip hop music. So I always love to do research on some of these rappers and, what their upbringing was like and where they came from. So with another thing like Counter-Strike that I'm really passionate about, I always love learning about, the history and what started this game and, looking at how it's evolved over the years. I love all of that kind of shit.
Oh yeah, totally get you. It's like finding cut content of Counter Strike. I guess it's like finding a demo version of a song that you like.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Same type of thing. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
and then sometimes like, oh, I love the original or the final product, but damn, this work in progress, super interesting. Like the nuances are different, and I suppose you gotta be a bit weird to find these kind of things interesting. But I suppose there are a lot of people who are kind of weird. Like I don't know why. Like I look into the Counter Strike development stuff or portfolios posted by people who worked on Counter Strike, and I see a render of an M4A4 with a silencer, and I think, hey, that's kind of interesting. Why did they remove this?
Yeah.
And you make a little video about it, and apparently 100,000 people find this interesting as well.
Yeah, and it's, I'm sure a great portion of that audience probably had no fucking idea. They just saw the thumbnail and was like, wait, what the fuck is this? And, you open their mind right up and, tell them information that, you really got to do some digging to find this stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's so many weird things to explore. Like, I don't know. Have you ever heard about the TAC 21, that sniper rifle?
I did hear a little bit about that.
Like, it was mentioned in the CS:GO code. I guess there was one person somewhere experimenting. Hey, how about we put a TAC 21 into Counter Strike? They never went through with it, but yeah, there we go. Let's explore this. I guess the best example of exploring cut content for me is like that's approachable to everyone. Have you ever taken a close look at the CS:GO logo?
Yeah, he's holding that one. I forget. It's a Scar.
It's
No,
it, it's an assault rifle that's not in the game.
that's right.
In
Yeah.
game they called it the Scar 17. It's a mix of a Scar L and a Scar H. It's not 100% an adaptation of the real life thing. But this grew out of carrying it over from Left 4 Dead 2. They got the Scar in Left 4 Dead 2, so they had it in the beta versions of CS:GO, and at some point they were just like, yeah, no, it's a cool gun, let's just keep it, and then
Yeah.
they kicked it out in favor of the M4 again.
So I wanted to talk with you a bit more about your cut content videos specifically. I know
Sure.
it's a little bit different now that you can't load up CS:GO and boot older versions and stuff like that. But when you touch on topics such as things that were in beta, for example, like what kind of research do you have to do to find some of these features that never actually made it into the official version of Counter-Strike Global Offensive?
A lot of stuff there's so many different things. Sometimes people just come to me because they know I'm interested in it. Like in the very beginning, I just scrolled through game files or just looked at the wiki because there are other people documenting these kind of things. Um, for example, I did a video on this weird dynamic pricing thing they used to have in Counter-Strike Source. And that is something that I sadly never got to experience myself. So I just started talking to a bunch of old school Counter-Strike players. And they explained the concept to me. Have you heard about it? Dynamic pricing?
No, I don't think I have heard about that.
It was such a weird system. So basically, you had a dynamic market. The more people bought the Deagle in game, the more expensive it got. And the
Oh,
fewer people bought an item, the cheaper it got. So you ended up with a Deagle costing $7,000 and an
what?
M249 and an M249 costing $50.
What the fuck? I don't even know what to say. That's crazy.
Yes, it is crazy. So, and because everyone bought a Kevlar, the Kevlar got incredibly expensive. So suddenly no one had a Kevlar anymore.
What the fuck? How did
Yeah,
that thought even like transpire? Like what?
it's a really weird system they introduced. It wasn't around for long because it kind of destroyed the entire game. It's an interesting
Yeah.
experiment, but god damn it, it's weird as hell. Like, let me pull up a picture. Yeah, okay, I got a price list. So Kevlar and helmet was at some point $1,790. The M4 was 4,900.
What?
Yeah,
That's more than the op.
yeah, it's more than the AWP. But let's see what the AWP cost. The AWP was at 4,700 at the time.
Okay.
And let me see. Let me scroll down to the cheapest item because that's getting ridiculous. Um, the Mac 10 was 900.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you ended up with really weird stuff, and you can still look up these old pricing uh, tables. Let's say it like that. You know the Wayback Machine,
Don't
right?
kill me.
Like,
I don't. I
okay,
don't.
so so the Internet Archive, internetarchive.org has this thing called the Wayback Machine, where you can look up old archived versions of websites,
Oh.
and that's another tool how I find cut content. You
Wow,
can go
that's
into the
super
open.
cool.
Yeah, and it only works with stuff that has been archived back in the day, but popular websites, they have been archived, and Counter-Strike websites are part of it, and you can just go and look at the Counter-Strike website or the Counter-Strike source specific website from 2004. And
That's
then you
so
click on it and
crazy.
you get an ad for the hot bargain of the week telling you, hey, the Mac 10 is just $988 in game right now. So
My god. Wow. That's super cool.
it is a very useful thing. And even if it's not about Counter-Strike, if it's any research project, the Wayback Machine is super awesome.
Yeah, for like anything really. Like
Yeah, research project for school, anything? You gotta look up something that someone said on their website 10 years ago. Boom, there you go. Check it out.
shout out to the internet. So tell
And
me a
then,
bit about what your journey's been like on YouTube in regards to how it's changed or impacted your life at all.
um, I try to not let it impact my life all too much. But it has, of course.
In a
Uh, you
positive
know,
way, I'm hoping.
oh yeah, it has mostly in a positive way. I mean, first of all, it's really fun to create videos. You interact with cool people. Also, you interact with some dicks as well. But
Oh yeah.
that's life. Um, I've met people that I thought I would never meet. It's kind of crazy. I talked to the creator of Counter Strike. I talked to developers from this studio and that studio, and it's super interesting. Then of course, yeah, it does have an impact on personal life. For me, it's Saturday night. I could also be out drinking in the town with my boys, but I'm here recording a podcast with you. Of course, there are impacts like that, but overall, the journey on YouTube, it's really fun though. YouTube changed. It's a lot more people talking about Counter Strike nowadays. Back in the day, there were like a few channels, and yeah, so a lot of new people to get to know.
Yeah, definitely.
But I never really thought about this question, how the journey was. Right? I don't think I have a good answer other than it's been fun and it's been a great ride so far.
Yeah, and like you said, like there's so many cool people to meet, and sure with the caliber that you've reached, especially with some of your most popular videos, like you get like so many comments and interacting with people like that that genuinely care about you and what you do, and that are also fascinated by early beta versions of Counter Strike and cut content and the history of Counter Strike and all this stuff. Like I'm sure it's cool interacting with them because they enjoy it as much as you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it's sometimes a bit weird. Like let's say I join some random server playing some deathmatch, and there's like a chat message. Oh, are you the real escalation? Like, yeah, I
You made it.
guess I
That means
am.
you made it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I'm really not anything special. I'm just a dude sitting here in front of a computer with a drink, and Mondays to Fridays I go to work.
So when you compare, like meeting people like that, like what's your experience been with, networking and meeting other influential community members, maybe outside of a
Uh,
server or something like that?
I haven't really that much. Like it chatted to one or few people on Discord, but in real life, I haven't really met that many people.
You're more a laid back kind of guy. You kind of just stay to yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I have interacted with a few. I mean, I did collaborations with a few people. God, I'm so incredibly bad with names. Yeah, that Russian guy. He was recently on your podcast.
I have
Gabe
game
Gabe
agents.
follower.
Oh,
Gabe
Gabe.
follower.
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, I did a collaboration with Gabe follower. And of course, chatted with him. Really nice fellow.
Very nice.
Um, yeah. Recently, I just chatted with NoClick about doing a Half Life video. Uh, you meet a lot of people, and most people are really nice.
Yes. That's been the
Mm,
biggest like worry about like sometimes I overthink a lot, right? So when I'm meeting, like Do Up for instance is as soon as I saw his first video, I'm like this is my favorite like content creator. Like he's super funny, he's super unique. And when I first started interacting with him, I was like holy fuck, like here I am and I'm like one, how the hell did this end up happening? And two, like, you know, to me I'm thinking, he's all the way up here and I'm all the way down here. And, I've got to make sure that I'm doing this right because I don't want him to get mad at me, which wasn't ever the case. Me and him are pretty close now. And, guys like Min Lee, I'm thinking of these guys as like the kings, you know what I mean? And
they're heroes. Yes, I,
exactly. And
I know exactly what you mean.
yeah,
Like,
I'm not really getting it out right, but if you understand, then that's cool.
uh, the thing is, yeah, I have 60,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I'm still starstruck sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like, you might have an idea about some of these people, like, holy shit, this is gonna be super intense. It's like with me and Min Lee, I was like, before I got into my first call with him, I'm like, I really got to make sure I'm on point for this. But he's such a laid back and cool dude. Do Wop, same thing. I had Zipple on the podcast a couple months ago, and I was a little intimidated. And he's the coolest guy. Like me, I get the same vibe with Zipple that I get with you, and it's just like we don't really know each other too well. But like I could sit here and talk to you about anything all day long because it's just like you guys have that like friendly kind of it just feels like certain people in life you talk to and it's like you feel like you've known them forever and maybe you've only known them for a short amount of time. And
Yeah, with
there's a
some
lot of
people,
people in the community like
with,
that.
with some people, you just immediately click. I remember our first conversation when we just setting up the podcast. We were just shooting shit and talking about Trailer Park Boys.
That's how it is, man.
But, about being starstruck, there's one silly thing. I remember I said like someone called me Counter Strike historian. In that role, I was just like minding my own business, and someday just anomaly popped into my DMs like, "Hey guy,
Wow.
I know you know about Counter Strike stuff. How do I actually play the old Counter Strike betas? Can you help me with that?"
Oh my god, I remember when those videos were coming out. So you were like talking to him about how to do that?
Yeah, I was providing him with the whole setup for it. And
Wow.
then a couple of weeks ago, he came around like, do you still have like footage of the original Chinese version of Counter Strike Online 2?
Oh
Like,
my god, that's so cool.
I mean, doesn't do me any good, but I guess it's not hard to help him with that. And
It's
a little shout out would be nice anomaly.
yeah, that's it's must still be a very cool experience. I mean, when you talk about people who've been around for a long time, like like Three Clicks Phillips and the War Owls and then Anomaly and stuff like that's got to be a huge honor to get to even just speak with the guy, I imagine. A shout out would be
It,
nice, man. Anomaly, if you're watching this somehow, shout out my man ESCalation, man. Come on.
how about I ask him about appearing on your podcast? I guess that would be kind of cool because he's fun to talk to.
I uh I sent him a message and he read it in Twitch chat and he kind of dismissed it like, respectfully, but he said he's not really into it sort of thing, and I don't know, I would love to have him on personally cuz he seems like a really goofy guy and really funny guy and everything. And especially for his history and stuff like that, it'd be cool to have him on, but I don't like to chase people and force things to happen. If it happened, it happened. If not, that's cool too, no bad blood. Our mutual friend ZooL told me that I know you kind of touched on it already a little bit, but he told me that you were already working on Classic Offensive, the Counter Strike mod, and he said that you were working on Nuke. I just wanted you to kind of elaborate on your involvement alongside this awesome project that you're working on with ZooL.
So Zool's been a friend of mine for a few years now, and I've been standing on the sideline watching his development of Classic Offensive for a long time. So my involvement with Classic Offensive really started with the whole mapping stuff. Before that, I was just testing and being like playing a few rounds here and there and telling you, oh, here's a clipping issue or something like that. But then he showed me an unfinished version of their Nuke remake that I forgot the guy who started working on it, and I liked the idea that he had. He was already going for that old 1.6 vibe, but much more basic. If you want, I can later show you a few pictures of it.
Yeah, sure.
Um, and I was like, yeah, I'd like to work on this because I love the old Half-Life stuff, and this is basically combining two things I love: Counter Strike and Half-Life, marrying this in the modern Source glory. So I started working on it. Then I was chatting with a few guys from Lambda Generation, this Half-Life 1 community.
I've never heard of it, no.
Damn, you need to check those guys out. They even have their own social network by now,
Oh,
like
what? No way.
their own website that works like Twitter with sub communities for Counter Strike, for Half-Life, for Team Fortress.
Wow,
Really
good for
great
them.
stuff. You got to check that out. So I was talking to a few admins of theirs, and since they are the Half-Life center of the world, basically, they know everyone, and they set me up with the guys from Crowbar Collective, the guy who made guys who made Black Mesa Source, and they were like, "Yeah, sure. You're not a non-profit project, so yeah, go ahead, use our assets." And with their stuff, I used a lot of their textures for retexturing the entire map, and then just went off there. It just started adding more and more detail, and going back into Counter-Strike 1.6, seeing how that looks, and try to imagine how this would look in modern graphics, because 1.6 is very bare bones. And then over the course of I think a year, this map came together, and we just kept adding more and more stuff. And sometimes I took it too far with adding too much detail. And then ZooL came in and was like, "Yeah, you got to tone this down. Way less detail, too elaborate. Visibility would be horrible for competitive gaming." And that's where you need to strike a balance between detailing and making it look pretty,
Oh,
and
okay.
keeping it simple enough for competitive gaming. We talked about this earlier about how a map needs to be simple enough so you can uh, develop elaborate tactics on it.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, and with my little hobby of remaking maps, that's sometimes a challenge to not make it too pretty or add too much stuff, make it too cluttered. That's also something that you had with the early Counter-Strike Global Offensive maps. They were too dark. There was dust everywhere and like stuff laying around.
Yeah,
And
Nuke specifically on CS:GO when it was like new on CS:GO, it was super different than it is now. When you look back at screenshots and stuff, it's crazy to see how much it's evolved.
oh yeah, I mean, the step from 1.6 to Source was big. The step from Source to Global Offensive was initially not too big, and then they had their big remake. The map looked wow, like it's shiny, it's bright, clear lines of sight, so bright even, and it looked stunning. But do you remember when they initially released the remake for Global Offensive Nuke? They had this catwalk going all
Oh
around
my
the
god,
building.
yes. Right under Marshmallow and it wraps all the way around to heaven.
It's like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, this is weird. And then initially you had, you know, those on the bomb sites you have those big containers for nuclear fuel rods.
Yes, yes.
You had ladders on the side to climb up.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. There was
And,
way
and
too
you,
much movement on that map in the
yeah,
remake for sure.
they toned this down, and I think nowadays Nuke is actually pretty good.
I love it,
It's
dude. It's awesome.
it's still one of the more unusual maps because there's so much verticality in the map,
Yeah.
but I like it. I like it.
It just adds a whole like different depth to like a whole new layer of depth, I guess you could call it, to the competitive gameplay. What site is it planted at? Thank God that they made two different beeping sounds for which bomb site the bomb's planted on, because before that Nuke was super hard if you didn't play it a whole lot.
Oh yeah, and also the splitting up the radar, like into different radar levels. For the remake in Classic Offensive, I just scrapped the entire 1.6 layout and went with what they did in Global Offensive and later CS2 because that rework that Valve did is just so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You need to strike a balance when you remake a game.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you want it to resemble the old game as much as possible, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know.
As much as I have a lot of nostalgia, and as much as that, I have a lot of nostalgia, and as much nostalgia that I have to admit, not everything was better in those days, and there are a lot of improvements that come with modern Counter Strike.
Hmm.
Um, like throwing grenades is just a lot better in modern CS than in old CS, at least in my opinion. Like you used to be able to just throw a nade through a gap that was 1 pixel wide.
Yeah, yeah, they were really weird like that. And they wouldn't go
Wall
that far
banging
either.
was yeah, they no, true. They wouldn't go as far either. They wouldn't bounce correctly sometimes. Um, Damage would just go through walls in completely erratic ways. You could wall bang across the entire map, basically.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can still wall bang in modern Counter Strike, of course, but back in the day, go play Counter Strike 1.6 with some pros. You'll get wall banged to hell.
Yeah, they definitely improved in a lot of different aspects, especially with like damage distribution and stuff like that, which is obviously essential to gameplay nowadays. So something I
And
wanted to ask you about also is do you have any other projects that you're working on, whether it be related to your YouTube channel or anything else relating to Counter-Strike Classic Offensive or anything else in general?
there's this constant project that I have is about remaking old Condition Zero maps.
Oh.
Um, yeah, so there are a bunch of them that I've already done because there are. I think it was 26 maps that they promised to release but never did. Some of them got reused for Counter Strike Condition Zero deleted scenes, that weird single player Counter Strike spin off.
Yep.
Um, Check it out if you haven't. It's really silly. And a lot of the geometry in that game is just reused multiplayer maps that they didn't release.
Oh,
So what
okay.
I do is just I flick through old gaming magazines, look for old preview videos that magazines did or the Gearbox released or something, and I try to piece together how these original maps used to look like. And then I go ahead and just start remaking them. not just me. I have a few friends who work with me on that. Vincent, he kind of left Twitter, but he used to post a lot about this stuff, and we often go ahead and start working on it. I save the map. I send the file off to him. He works a bit on it, and we bounce this back and forth, and we just keep progressing with that. So in that way, we have reworked Desert Bunker, Hankagai, Trailer Park, so many more. God damn it, this is so long. I've been doing this for so long, I can't even remember all the maps. But these maps are really obscure, interesting in a way, and sometimes you realize why they have been cut. Even though those maps, some of them, they were worked on by absolute experts. You get the guy who Dan who worked on the creator of Dust 2.
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you know? So he worked on maps for Counter-Strike Condition Zero that did not get released because
Okay.
he didn't because lightning doesn't always strike twice. Dust 2, amazing map, but the stuff he created for Condition Zero, just not great gameplay wise. Fun to play, but not good for Counter-Strike competitive. And there are so many maps that they created in those early days for Counter-Strike that were just horrible and didn't release. But to me, it's super fun to try to bring them back and enable people to play them. And if you look for cut content of Counter-Strike on FPS Banana or Game Banana as it's called nowadays, there are collections of unreleased maps that have been recreated by me, other people. In the map recreation scene, there's a little update. There's a new decompiler for Half-Life 1 that decompiles Half-Life 1 maps in great detail. This enables people to recreate those old maps way more easily. And I think we're gonna see more cut maps come back. I've seen people work on Vessel. It was a really cool map that's located on a ship. Of course, cool for 2001.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it looks ugly. But I think it's cool because I'm a nerd of the old times.
Yeah, man. It's an important part of where we are today. You can't look past it.
And this is one of the projects that I always like work on the side. And then, are you asking about video projects or?
Just it could be video project, just anything really that you're working on that you want to share with the people.
Oh, well, that's one thing that is kind of funny. So just last week, someone posted a link to a Half-Life unofficial Half-Life expansion pack on eBay on my Discord.
Oh,
It was
what?
like we gotta have you make a video about it. It's a relic of a time when people didn't have internet. It was an unofficial add-on pack that just came with a bunch of new models, a bunch of custom maps that some company just took and put it onto the CD and sold it in a store. I'm not sure about the legality of this, but people just did it back then, and I got this relic of an old time, and I'm planning to do a video on it. And if you ever watched an LGR video, Lazy Game Reviews, I imagine it to be kind of like that.
Okay, okay. Right
Because
on.
like it's exploring content of a bygone era. Like the gaming communities were much more insular and so very different in a time when broadband internet wasn't a thing. I mean, the whole creation of Counter-Strike Condition Zero is a testament to that time because Valve said, "Hey, we got a Counter-Strike game. Counter-Strike super popular, but a whole lot of people who play this don't have internet, so they can't play it properly. So we need to create a version that's for single player with bots." Nowadays, bots aren't special, but back in the day, like playing Counter-Strike alone, if you don't have internet, cool thing. I guess to a modern Counter-Strike gamer like you, like yourself, looking back at the the old Counter-Strike games, I guess they all feel a bit samey and a bit weird.
Yeah, I just I wish that I was like a couple years older and I got into PC gaming earlier, because I look back on some of this stuff and I'm like, holy shit, like, would have been so cool to be like, I couldn't imagine from a guy like you who's been playing since 1.5 and now there's CS2, like going through that timeline must be just so insane. Like I've only been playing since Global Offensive, so it's crazy to me, but for a guy like you that's been playing since, the early days, like I couldn't even imagine.
The crazy thing is to me is that it's still popular. People still play the game that in its inception is so super old. But if you want to experience the old Counter-Strike, like the really old stuff that's even older than what I experienced, there's still a dedicated community meeting every Friday night playing Counter-Strike Beta 6.1,
Whoa.
the 1999 shit. Expect to die a lot because these people have been playing this game for longer than some people have been alive. But it's kind of janky, but really fun, and it's free. You can just download the old version
Oh,
and play.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun and free, and you definitely need to check that out. I can encourage you to do that.
Yeah, I
Sometimes,
might try that for a stream or something.
yeah, you should. Like, I can later send you the Discord server. It's a guy, an American called Ice Bear. He runs that whole thing. He hosts multiple servers. He's a great guy. He has, by the way, the largest map collection that I have ever seen. He's got like 25,000 Counter Strike maps archived.
Oh my god.
Uh, yeah, the dude's insane, but amazing. And eh, so this is a super old game. So if you want to torture yourself and get an old computer, you can play this with an old like Windows 2000 computer with a ball mouse and a low resolution CRT screen against people playing this on Windows 11. Uh, it's an absolute torture, but it's fun as hell. So while my computer was broken for a few weeks, so while I was waiting to get the parts and have it fixed, I only had my old school computer here. I got this machine standing around for playing old games, so it runs on Windows 2000.
Oh
And
wow.
yes, so I just took a gamble. You shouldn't do this with old computers, but I connected it to the internet, and yeah, I played this against people playing Counter Strike on modern computers. Uh, Absolutely hilarious. You get smoked a lot, but when you kill someone with your shitty ball mouse, it's
Probably feels
it's
damn
it
good.
yeah, it feels like an accomplishment. Sadly, you can't get Steam to run on Windows 2000 without. I think there's like a extended kernel for 2000, but with the proper regular Windows 2000 made by Microsoft, you can't boot Steam anymore, so you cannot play uh, again with the modern Counter Strike 1.6 that's currently on Steam. But the old versions, that these old school fans, Counter Strike 6.1, Beta 7.5 or something, you can still play that with old machines, and it's a nostalgic feeling. It's fun.
Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode, man. It was really fun and always a pleasure talking to you. I had a great time. At the end of the episode, I like to always let the guests close it out by sharing anything at all. If it's something that we haven't covered, if it's something that you want to share with the audience, anything at all, the floor is yours. Tell the people whatever you want.
Hmm. What's the main message I want to tell Counter Strike fans nowadays? I think it's check the workshop for odd and obscure projects by small mappers, and try the server browser. You might find a community that you enjoy outside the regular matchmaking.
All right, thank you guys very much for tapping into today's episode with ESCalation. Hope you guys maybe had a laugh or two. I know I sure did when we were recording this, because like I said, he's just one of those guys, man. You get along with him right from the rip, and it's a super refreshing thing. It feels really good to encounter someone with as much energy as him, I guess you could say. All of ESCalation's links will be in the description. I highly recommend you stay up to date with him. Go support him on Patreon. Shoot him, I think it's $1 on his Patreon. Kind of keeps him going, and you get to see his videos early. Why not? $1, what do you got to lose? I appreciate you guys all tapping into today's video. Make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing. It helps me out a bunch, and it costs you nothing. You guys have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and we will catch you guys next Friday. Till next time, everybody.